Hello, everyone. Today is going to be a special for Memorial Day. Nothing regarding constitutional infringements, just about what today is supposed to be about, and that is memorializing those who have fought for our freedoms and who have paid the ultimate price. It is as simple as that. So I'm hoping that in the process, everyone out there that is listening will learn what the meaning of Memorial Day is today, what it is not about, and hopefully how to respect those that gave all. Memorial Day. It's to memorialize those that have paid the ultimate price for our freedoms. Our freedoms that we as Americans should hold dear and hold on to tight forever. It's not a day that we go celebrate veterans. That day should really be every day, but today is a special day that we recognize those that paid the ultimate price. It's not a day that we go and we make plans with our families to go have barbecues and go out and get drunk and scream and holler and party. And I mean, we can have a good time, but we need to discuss and talk about what this day means. Teach our children, teach them what today means. It's not a day to light off fireworks. No, that's the 4th of July. It's not Memorial Day, and it's definitely not the days leading up to Memorial Day. So, it all began hundreds of years ago, back when the British were trying to keep control of the 13 colonies with the American Revolutionary War. That's when everything started, and we had Americans that were fighting for our little country at the time to keep us free, for our freedoms, because they knew that tyranny was coming down upon us. And because of that, there were 6,824 troops killed in battle that paid the ultimate price so that we could be free as a country. 25,000 to 70,000 were dead from all causes. Now, back in that time, there was so much sickness that was going around during the war. They may not have died from a bullet wound per se, but there was illnesses just left and right that a lot of the soldiers were suffering from, because they were there fighting for our country, fighting for our freedoms. And they did not want to go seek treatment for their illnesses. They wanted to stay on the battle lines and keep fighting and fighting. And they suffered all of these plagues that were going on at the time. Overall casualties were up to 50,000. At that time, the POW and the MIAs, the POWs were 18,152, and MIA, missing in action, was 1,426. Now, I am going to continue to mention POWs and MIAs. Now, if you're not aware, POW, prisoner of war, MIA, missing in action. I think it's important that we also recognize those today, because I know there is a great portion of those that are deceased also, that did pay the ultimate price. The American Civil War. The North, which was the Union, was 140,414 killed in action, with 365,000 total dead. South, being the Confederacy, 72,524 killed in action, 260,000 total dead. The POW and MIAs for the Union was 194,743. Confederacy, 214,865. World War I, killed in action, 116,516. POW, MIA, 7,470. World War II, killed in action, 416,800. POW 124,079, MIA 30,314. Korean War, killed in action 36,574, POW MIA 4,714. Vietnam War, the official count of killed in action from the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund is currently at 58,281. POW MIA is 1,584. Gulf War, killed in action 147, POW MIA 52. The Iraq War, killed in action 3,481. War in Afghanistan, killed in action 1,856. Now, the most current statistics for the War on Terror, which include the Iraq War, War in Afghanistan, are from 2018. So that they state that 81,700 POW MIA are still missing. This is in total for all of the wars, with 75% of them believed to be from the Indo-Pacific conflicts. So that would be from, say, Vietnam, Korean War. Over 41,000 are presumed lost at sea. So that is why I went ahead and included the POW MIA in with these statistics. I think it's important to note them. Now, one other area that I want to include, and some may disagree with me that it shouldn't be included today, but I believe that it should. And the reason I do is because I consider this to be a war that continues at home. There are many soldiers that go into battle, and that battle comes home with them. And it continues inside of them for a long time, maybe even the rest of their lives. So that is why I'm going to include statistics for what is known as 22 a day. Now, 22 a day gets its title because on average, at the highest, a few years ago, 22 veterans were committing suicide a day. Now, back in 2018 is what I have for the most current statistics. The Veterans Administration is a few years behind on getting the statistics updated. And I would imagine that's probably going to continue after everything with COVID. So when I was doing some more research this past few months on suicide rates, I did find that the suicide rate among veterans during the COVID era, for a lack of better words right now, has increased as much as 30%. Like I said, unfortunately, I do not have current statistics because being a statistical person myself, it always does take at least 2 years for statistics to be able to reach the public because of all the analysis that it takes to get all of this done. So it does take a bit of time for that to reach, the public's access. However, I think 22 a day is a fair analysis of the amount of veterans that commit suicide. I have not been impacted myself by this, except for in one case a few years back when I did want to help somebody get a dog that my dad knew. And unfortunately, that did not come in time. So unfortunately, this person became another statistic. And that one has always stuck with me. My dad, being a Vietnam veteran, he does suffer from PTSD. Now, I don't worry about him becoming one of these statistics. However, I do know of people that have talked about it. I volunteer for veterans quite a bit. And one place that I used to volunteer was at, we'll just call it like an apartment type place for now. I'm not going to mention any names. And I did that for several months. And that place was to give shelter to homeless veterans that needed a home. And they were literally homeless. And it was to get them off the streets and to get them in a place, say it was apartment type buildings. So I did a lot of volunteer work out there, and I became to know and friends with some of these veterans out there quite a bit. And I became familiar with their lifestyles. And I can honestly say that there was a lot of work that needs to be done in that place, this property, to make it a better way for them. And it's a sad situation, and they need help. And I unfortunately think that sometimes they just kind of get put in a place for them to say, here you go, now you're not on the street, and we've taken care of you. But I do want to mention that there is a place that they can get help. And if you or anybody at any time know of anybody, a veteran that needs help, that is having suicidal thoughts, there is always the Veterans Crisis Line that you can access. You can go on to va.gov and click on their contact link. They have their number on there, which is 1-800-273-8255, and you select 1. There's also a direct link that you can text and get help. You can also select a confidential chat. And then there's also a link for those that are of hearing impaired. So I think that is an excellent place for people to be able to go and get help for their loved ones that are veterans that are suffering from PTSD and are in a risk of suicidal thoughts. Please take advantage of that. I've seen it. I've been around it. And if I could save the world, I would. But hopefully me bringing this up right now, even though, like I said, I'm sure some will disagree with me, this will help people to see that this is an area that needs to be covered. So the following statistics are from a website called StopSoldierSuicide.org. Veterans are at 50% higher risk of suicide than their peers who have not served. By 2030, the total of veteran suicides will be 23 times higher than the number of post-9/11 combat deaths. And that right there, to me, is just ridiculous. It's like I said, because I volunteered where I did, I got to see firsthand what was going on out there. And there are a lot of these veterans that unfortunately are addicted to drugs, and not always street drugs, but it can be, a chemical dependency from a prescribed drug that they were prescribed because of their PTSD. So they need more than just a prescribed drug to get them back on their feet. Since 2001, more than 114,000 veterans have died by suicide. And that is what I am talking about when I talk about the war here at home. It is a battle within these soldiers. Since 2006, there has been an 86% increase in suicide rate among 18 to 34-year-old male veterans. Among veterans who served during the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, the suicide rate for those who were unemployed is 48% higher than for veterans who experienced deployment. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for post 9/11 veterans, accounting for 22.3% of all deaths. In 2015, most recent year data is available. That's what they're saying. That's where they're getting their information from. More than 70% of veteran suicides occurred outside Veterans Health Administration care. Veterans account for more than 9% of all adults experiencing homelessness in the U.S., translating to more than 39,000 homeless veterans on any given day. Now I'm going to pause right there, and I'm going to share a short story with one of the veterans that I communicated with frequently out there. You know, the VA is not a perfect system, unfortunately. It is kind of broken sometimes. And the VA was not the only organization that these veterans could go through to have shelter put over their heads. There was another organization who I'm not going to name, but they would also get them into this apartment-like building out there. And that's another system that is broken that, you know, it would fail them. So I'm talking to this one veteran, and he told me he was homeless, and he used to live in what we call a river bottom in this area from where we're at around here. And he had a nice, as he said, a nice little place, I guess as nice as it could be for being a homeless veteran. And he said that he, when he got out to where he is at now and saw everything that was going on, he wanted to go be homeless again. That's how broken the system is. And he fortunately got transferred into another area out there, and it was better. But that is how broken the system is. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I want everyone to see that, you know, you may think that, okay, this is a sad situation. Today's Memorial Day. We memorialize those that fought for us, and while they were, you know, in Afghanistan, Iraq, Vietnam, Korea, you know, France and Germany, and whatever the case may be, they lost their lives and we're memorializing them. Yes. But I have a strong passion about these veterans that commit suicide. And because, like I said, the battle comes home with them. And there needs to be more done to help them with that battle, so that they are not part of the 22 a day statistic. So veterans account for more than 9% of all adults experiencing homelessness. Oh, I think I already said that. Moving on. Among veterans experiencing homelessness, 59% are age 51 or older. Yeah, I saw that out there. Between 2009 and 2016, there were 54% increase in the number of veterans aged 62 or older experiencing homelessness. Individuals of color comprise 18% of the general veteran population, but account for 43% of all veterans experiencing homelessness. Depending on branch, up to 31% of service members develop PTSD after returning from combat. The rate of suicide for veterans in the LGBTQ community is up to 7 times higher than for non-LG them veterans. More than 40% of female veterans report experiencing military sexual harassment or military sexual trauma. And that I can also believe, too, because of what happened last year with that one from Texas. More than 1 in 10 U.S. veterans have been diagnosed with a substance abuse disorder, going back to what I said a few minutes ago. More than 40% of veterans say they experience high levels of difficulty when transitioning. Yes, they do. When asked if their transition experience was more difficult than expected, 48% of veterans agree. Yes, I would have to say that. When asked if their transition experience was stressful, 76% of veterans agree. More than 80% of post 9/11 veterans say that the public does not understand the problems those who have served face in transitioning to civilian life. Now, I'm going to pause there for a second too, because that is something that is not just now. That is something that has been forever. I mean, think back to Vietnam War days when these servicemen and women would come home. They got so much, they were harassed. They were called baby killers and just all kinds of different names. I've heard so many stories, and that is why you will always hear one Vietnam veteran say to another Vietnam veteran, "Welcome home," because they did not hear that when they came home from Vietnam. More than 80% of civilian organizations have no veteran-specific recruiting programs, and more than 50% offer no onboarding or transition support to veteran hires. More than 45% of veterans with combat experience describe transition as difficult, compared to 18% of veterans with no combat experience. Roughly 35% of veterans say they have trouble paying their bills in their first few years after leaving the military. Only about half of the NCOs and enlisted personnel agree when asked if the military prepared them well for the transition to civilian status. So basically, like I said, that proves, the system is somewhat broken. Where it's going to be now, I don't know, because there is a new veterans administrator. So I don't know where it's going to be at this point. However, like I said, I just want to bring everyone's attention to these statistics, because I think it is important that the 22 a day, a lot of people had not heard of it, and I think it's important that everyone is aware of that statistic, what it's about, and how it comes about. It's not just something that happens out of the blue. Like I said, it is a war that is brought home, and it's a battle within each and every one of these soldiers. There was I don't know as if I'd call them an organization, but a group of guys that I started following on Facebook last year, beginning of the year, when I was still doing Facebook, and they were called the Buddy Watch Walk. And they're a great bunch of guys. And got to meet them, got to go out and have dinner with them when they got out to California. And they walked all the way one of them, John, he actually walked all the way from Georgia to California. And there were others that picked up and met him through certain states. And they did this to bring awareness to the suicide rates amongst veterans, 22 a day. And also to, TBIs and, the sexual assault rates among women and everything else that goes on that people just are not aware of. And they're an awesome bunch of guys, and I will try and actually put a link to one of their YouTube videos on here when I'm done with this podcast, so that you can go check them out and maybe even support them. I would like that. And on my website, atruepatriotsblog.com, I actually am linked to their website on there also. So, I hope that all of you, take that information seriously and keep that in mind when you are thinking about Memorial Day, because there are those average 22 a day that take their lives because of the battle within. I'll be right back. Okay, so another thing that I wanted to do today is something that I honestly didn't know much about, and I wanted to learn more about myself. And I decided to go ahead and bring up the statistics on it, and I'm going to share this with you today. Most everybody knows that whenever someone from the military unfortunately does not make it, and they're serving our country, and they die, they have the flag that is folded and given to their loved one. So what is the purpose of this, and what is it called? Well, it's called the 13 Folds of American Flag. So I'm going to explain to you what the meaning of that is and how that started. The portion of the flag denoting honor is the canton of blue, containing the stars representing states our veterans served in uniform. The field of blue dresses from left to right and is inverted only when draped as a funeral cloth over the casket of a veteran who has served our country honorably in uniform. In the U.S. Armed Forces, at the ceremony of retreat, the flag is lowered, folded in a triangle, and kept under watch throughout the night as a tribute to our nation's honored dead. The next morning, it is brought out, and at a ceremony of refuel, I looked that word up earlier too, flown high as a symbol of belief in the resurrection of the body. Meaning behind the 13 folds. The flag folding ceremony represents the same religious principles on which our great country was originally founded. Now I'm going to repeat that again. Meaning behind the 13 folds. The flag folding ceremony represents the same religious principles on which our great country was originally founded. One more time. Meaning behind the 13 folds. The flag folding ceremony represents the same religious principles on which our great country was originally founded. Don't ever let anyone tell you anything different. Number 1, the first fold of our flag is a symbol of life. Number 2, the second fold is a symbol of our belief in eternal life. Number 3, the third fold is made in honor and remembrance of the veteran departing our ranks and who gave a portion of his or her life for the defense of our country to attain peace throughout the world. Number 4, the fourth fold represents our weaker nature. As American citizens trusting in God, it is Him we turn to in times of peace, as well as in times of war, for His divine guidance. The fifth fold is a tribute to our country. In the words of Stephen Decatur, our country, in dealing with other countries, may she always be bright, but it is still our country, right or wrong. The sixth fold is for where our hearts lie. It is with our heart that we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The seventh fold is a tribute to our armed forces, for it is through the armed forces that we protect our country and our flag against all enemies, whether they be found within or without the boundaries of our republic. The eighth fold is a tribute to the one who entered into the valley of the shadow of death, that we might see the light of day, and to honor our mother, for whom it flies on Mother's Day. The ninth fold is a tribute to womanhood. It has been through their faith, love, loyalty, and devotion that has molded the character of the men and women who have made this country great. 10. The 10th fold is a tribute to Father, who has also given his sons and daughters for the defense of our country since he or she was first born. 11. The 11th fold represents the lower portion of the seal of King David and King Solomon and glorifies the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. 12. The 12th fold represents an emblem of eternity and glorifies God the Father, the Son, and Holy Ghost. 13. The 13th and last fold. When the flag is completely lowered or folded, the stars are uppermost, reminding us of our nation's motto, "In God we trust." After the flag is completely folded and tucked in, it has the appearance of a cocked hat, ever reminding us of the soldiers who served under General George Washington and the sailors and Marines who served under Captain John Paul Jones and were followed by their comrades and shipmates in the U.S. Armed Forces, preserving for us the rights, privileges, and freedoms we enjoy today. Now, I will tell you one thing. If that right there did not bring you chills or tears to your eyes, then you suffer from a lack of feelings and compassion. Thank you, everybody. I'm not going to ask. I hope you enjoyed the show. It wasn't about enjoying the show today. It was about you learning, about you taking to heart everything that I said, and hopefully passing this on to others that might be suffering from a bit of ignorance today. God bless our military. God bless the fallen. Thank you.